Welcome to the Explainer. We usually spend so much of our time thinking like consumers, right? Always hunting for deals and buying exactly what we need. But today, we're totally flipping the script. We are going to step behind the curtain and enter the fascinating control room of a producer to see exactly what shapes their market plan.
Here is the agenda for our tour of the supply dashboard today. 1. The producer's dashboard. 2. The core profit engine. 3. Internal goals and tech. 4. The competitor radar. 5. External shocks and taxes. And finally, number 6, your final supply plan. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The producer's dashboard. Entering the control room.
Okay, so we really need to shift our everyday consumer mindset into a highly strategic producer mindset. Because producers don't just randomly throw products on a shelf and cross their fingers, no way. They calculate their supply based on 9 completely distinct factors. From the tech they use all the way to natural factors, every single variable influences the final quantity of a commodity that actually goes up for sale. It is a massive balancing act.
But, before we start touching any of the dials on this dashboard, we have to clear up 2 vital concepts: stock versus supply. Picture a farmer who just harvested 10,000 kilograms of wheat. That total amount sitting in their warehouse, that's their stock, the potential supply. However, the actual supply is only the 5,000 kilograms they are actually willing to pull out of the warehouse and sell in the market today at the prevailing price. Stock is just a snapshot at a single point in time, but supply is a continuous flow. And logically, you can never supply more than you literally have in stock.
Section 2. The core profit engine. Price and inputs.
So here is the absolute golden rule of supply. A higher market price naturally motivates suppliers to offer a larger quantity for sale. Why is that? Well, assuming the cost to produce an item stays the same, a higher price tag instantly yields a higher per-unit profit margin. It's simple, right? Producers are super motivated to sell more when the price is high, and they instantly pull back when the price drops.
But listen, profit isn't just about the selling price. It's heavily dependent on what it costs you to actually make the thing. This brings us to input prices, and there's a strict inverse relationship here. If you're forced to pay high prices for your raw materials, your labor, or your machinery, your factors of production, your overall production costs skyrocket. When that happens, your profit margins shrink, basically forcing you to lower your output. But on the flip side, a drop in input costs means you could afford to crank that supply dial right back up.
Section 3. Internal goals and tech. Shaping the strategy.
Now, not every producer wants the exact same thing out of their business. Sure, most are aiming for profit maximization, pushing out goods at high prices to make the absolute most money possible. But others? They actually pull the sales maximization lever. They'll push massive volume to win goodwill, status, and market prestige, even if it means producing right past their peak profit point. And then you have some conservative firms that just want risk minimization. They intentionally produce a smaller quantity just to safely cover basic costs and survive. Basically, your internal goal dictates your supply.
Once that goal is set, your machinery dictates the pace. This is where techniques of production act as a massive game changer. Advanced techniques and new innovations in machinery actively slash production costs. Think about it. When it costs you less time and money to make a product, your profit margins widen, which strongly induces you as a producer to crank up that supply. Better tech literally equals more supply.
Section 4. The competitor radar. Market and substitutes.
Let's talk about the prices of related commodities, because this is super interesting. Supply varies inversely with the price of a substitute good. Let's use a textbook example: cabbage and peas. Say a farmer has a finite piece of land. If the market price of peas suddenly spikes, that farmer is going to instantly divert resources away from growing cabbage to plant more peas, chasing those higher profits. So the supply of cabbage actually drops simply because the price of peas went up. It works the exact same way if a beverage producer shifts their resources from coffee over to tea if tea prices suddenly spike.
The very nature of the industry you operate in matters immensely too. Take a monopoly, meaning you are the sole producer of a good. You actually have the power to restrict your output. You intentionally create artificial scarcity to hike up prices and secure massive profits. But if you operate as a competitive firm amongst many sellers, you offer goods uniformly. There is zero tendency to restrict output because, honestly, if you don't supply the market, someone else definitely will. Competitive markets naturally lead to a much higher overall supply.
So far, as a producer, we've had total control over these decisions. We've managed our inputs, set our goals, and watched our competitors.
But what happens to our supply when unpredictable external forces start flipping the switches on our dashboard without our permission?
Section 5. External shocks and taxes, the uncontrollables.
Government policy is a massive factor on our dashboard. It basically acts as either a brake or an accelerator. On one side, imposing heavy indirect taxes like excise duties or sales tax acts as a heavy brake. It raises the cost of production, directly cutting supply. But on the flip side, government subsidies act as an accelerator. By providing financial aid or concessions, the government reduces costs for the producer, giving them a really strong incentive to enhance production and rapidly expand their supply.
And what about tomorrow? Well, expectations of future prices completely dictate behavior today. If producers expect prices to jump tomorrow, they actually pull back and hoard their inventory today, cutting current supply so they can sell it for a premium later on. But if they foresee a market crash and expect prices to drop tomorrow, they do the exact opposite. They flood the market to sell off absolutely everything they can right now at the current higher price.
Finally, we absolutely cannot forget Mother Nature, especially regarding agricultural supply. Favorable weather and adequate rainfall mean a massive, expanded supply of food grains flowing into the market. Conversely, severe, heavy rains, floods, or a bad drought can bring that agricultural supply dial straight down to zero. You could have the best technology and the most ambitious goals in the world, but if the rain doesn't fall, the supply just vanishes.
Section 6. Your final supply plan, putting it all together.
As we've unpacked throughout this explainer, bringing a product to market is definitely not just a matter of having stock sitting in a warehouse. It is a meticulously calculated strategy. Every single time a producer offers an item for sale, they've weighed all 9 of these factors. They're checking the current price, calculating the cost of inputs, aligning with internal goals, leveraging their tech, monitoring substitute goods, assessing their industry type, absorbing taxes and subsidies, projecting future prices, and even looking at the weather outside. It's basically a beautifully complex symphony of economics. So I really want you to think about that the next time you're standing in an aisle at the store holding a seemingly simple product. It didn't just magically appear there. Which of these 9 dashboard dials were perfectly calibrated to push that exact product into your hands at that exact price today? Keep questioning, keep learning, and definitely keep exploring the hidden mechanics behind everything we consume.